All right. So, Marelise, it's so good to get to do this with you. Thank you for your time
Okay.
today. I'm really excited to meet with you and talk to you about your life message, particularly, and how that also relates to your business message, your business tree, as I like to say, because what you do is both business and ministry together. So, um, yeah, just let's start with how can I help you?
Okay. All right. I don't know how much background you need, but anyway, I am parent coach, faith integration parent coach, because I believe that the only way we can really help our kids today is to help them understand first and foremost who they are, who they were made to be, and what that means for them going forward in a world that's changing all the time and new challenges are constantly being thrown at them. And it's not things that their parents experienced when they were growing up. It's all new kinds of things. So for the parents then to understand, first of all, how to impart this knowledge and wisdom to their children in a way that does not alienate these children because they think that that the parents don't understand. They've got to impart it in such a way that the children feel the security, the acknowledgement, the appreciation, and the acceptance.
Hmm.
Because that's the thing, especially as the children get older and as the challenges tend to become really more evil.
Hmm.
Um, I've I am keenly aware of the fact that if you don't respond correctly in every moment, you are going to turn that child away.
Hmm.
And that is exactly what God calls us not to do. And because relationship is so important to God, and because we know that He is constantly looking for that connection.
Hmm.
We know that that is the exact same connection that helps, that binds us to our children and enables us to understand them better, understand their calling better, and to guide them in the way that they should go, exactly as the Bible says.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and that is my core thing, because I don't the children don't have the experience and the wisdom to get through these challenges themselves.
Hmm.
The nature of the things that they are facing right now, I don't think it's ever been more important for the parents to guide them properly and
Hmm.
to really walk that path with them.
Hmm.
And yes, we know times are getting harder for parents as well. So they've got a lot to contend with. There's a lot of overwhelm. COVID rocked everyone's world. Nobody is really sure whether they're coming or going anymore. So it's a lot on the parent as well. But there are definite strategies that you can implement every day that makes it easier for the parent to identify the potential danger zones and how to address that, which means it makes it easier for them to connect with that child and guide them properly with the necessary understanding and support. And that way, you are going to enable families
Hmm.
to effectively handle all the challenges that come their way head on, using God's guidance, what God says, His truth.
Hmm.
And then the outcome is going to just be so much greater than without any of this.
Hmm.
Because we know, because God honors that. I mean, as we faithfully abide and instill and obey and entrust Him, we know. He is a God who is the rewarder of those who diligently seek him. So, yeah.
Mhm.
And everything I just told you, I don't think I've ever explained in that way. So every time that I talk about this, I seem to explain it differently. But yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that with me. That really is very powerful. And I can feel your passion for this
Mm,
subject. So it just makes perfect sense why you're doing what you're doing and why you've been called into this particular area. And I want to ask you to share a little bit more about your own personal story, your personal journey
mm,
in this
mm,
process. But I'm glad that you have the opportunity to share what you just shared. And I like the fact that you said that you every time you share it, it's a little bit different. And I think that's part of the process of really
mm,
and part of the power of really zeroing in today. And that's our goal
mm,
here today, is to
mm,
help you be able to walk away with a clear, succinct message that you can pull out of your pocket. And like I like to use the analogy, if you're in an elevator and you're going to the
mm,
15th floor and somebody says, "Hey, what do you do? Tell me more about that." You've got that elevator pitch message that you can just pull out of your pocket. Of course, you can't expound on that in 2 minutes to
mm,
the 15th floor, but you can create the intrigue and enough interest that they're going to want to get off the elevator with you and ask you more questions about what you
mm,
do, right? So that's our goal,
mm,
is to walk
mm,
away with a succinct sentence or two that really
mm.
illustrates and reflects the essence of what your message is. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
so thank you so much for sharing that. And um, what makes coming up with this message in a succinct way important to you?
Well, the thing is, I've been fortunate that the people that I have had an opportunity to speak to about this,
Mm,
um, I think I think it's because it's not a product that I'm selling. It's not a specific thing in a specific package that I can just hand to you and say, there you go, have a nice life. Because it's not that type of thing.
mm,
I always try and gauge from the person that I'm speaking to, what is their background? What is their experience? Where might I be able to help them?
mm,
Is, you know, to try and see, because the thing is, my passion and my privilege is to provide parents with solutions.
mm,
So that's not a once-off thing. I mean, a one-size-fits-all thing. For every person, it's different. Every person's experience with their child or what they're going through or how they approach it is different.
mhm,
And this is why I haven't had a little paragraph that I can just recite to everybody and say this is, because I'm not trying to sell me, I'm trying to help them. I'm trying to, and I think this is why it's been difficult for me, and this is why I struggle to find that specific message
mm,
that is going to appeal to the largest amount of people,
mm,
because I've put a lot of things out there, and I think I think it's mainly due to overwhelm, because everyone says that it's just too noisy out there,
mm,
that most of the right people don't get to see it. So I need to find another way to get more eyes on what is available to them then.
mm.
That's how I feel.
Okay, okay, that's
Mm,
really, really good.
mm,
And I think you already know, but I think the I heard you saying it's not a product, it's not a specific package that you're selling, but what you are really selling and what people are really looking for, searching for, longing for, parents in particular that have any measure of struggle with these issues or want to do better in their relationship with, even if
Yes.
they're good and they want more, either side of that coin. But why they would come to you is because of you and who you are and what your story is and what your experience is. And so that's what we're going to work on today, is really extracting the essence of, and that's what people are attracted to, and that's what they want. And that, I believe, is going to appeal to, maybe it won't appeal to lots of people, but it's going to appeal to people that you're called to and that are called to you. And
Yes.
that's what matters, right?
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Yes.
yeah. Okay, great. So what would you say are the most important things that need to be addressed in us beginning to mine your message today?
Like the most important things that I need to convey.
Or to address, like, what should we focus on today in our session to help us get to
Oh,
that
okay.
message?
I guess because I am working on my own and there is not a whole office of people to bounce ideas off.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest value for me, because you are mom and you are familiar with parent struggles, and you are also very, very tuned into what is currently happening in the world because of how you serve as well and the kind of people that you come into contact with. The most helpful thing, because I don't think it's necessarily possible to just define it in one or two or three sentences, is to get an opinion of someone who has the same heart for all these things, to say, okay, but when you say that, that doesn't make sense to me. But if you say it this way, that would definitely draw me in.
Okay.
So I think just being able to, because I consider your opinion to be so valuable, because you are very much in the trenches praying for these kids. You have worked with so many kids, and then, because obviously I'm approaching the parents. I work with the parents mainly. I have dealt with a few kids,
Mm-hmm.
just so that I can be sure that what the parent is picking up, or what the idea of this thing is in fact what is happening inside the child. And because often that is not the case. When I speak to the child,
Different stories.
their minds completely elsewhere. They don't see it that way at all.
Yeah.
So I think that is why it's such a subjective thing, and it's such an emotional thing, really.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, it's actually very simple.
Mm-hmm.
We overcomplicate it because of our backgrounds and our past hurts and our fears and our insecurities and our overwhelm.
Yeah.
But in fact, it's just about connecting and then supporting each other through that.
Yeah, I heard you just say
Does
it's
that make
about
sense?
connecting and then supporting each
Mm.
other through that. That's
Yes.
really
And
good.
that is why I lost my pen. That is why my messaging that I have been working on the last 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
has been mainly around connection, because
Mm.
if you're not going to have the same success with a parent who is just trying to get their child through school. I want a parent that says, you know what, because that's the thing. It's like a person who wants to become an Olympic gold medalist.
Mm-hmm.
If they're just doing it because their dads are driving them, to do it. You'll
Mhm.
never have the same result as someone who is so passionate about this. They just don't want to fail. They will do whatever it takes. And that's the thing with parenting. I actually said to someone today, you know what? The sad thing is, there are too many people in this world that should not be parents and should not have dogs. Those were my actual words today when I spoke to her,
Mm.
because it seemed like the right thing to do, but they don't really know what to do with it.
Mm.
But of course, that's not something that I understand, that the world, life is becoming harder every day.
Mm.
But the beauty of it is the more we can get that and really partner with your child. So
Mhm.
you know what? I know this is hard. I never knew anything like this. I mean, this is so foreign to me. But I know who you are. So
Mm.
let's do this together. You
Mm.
know? And that's really where it starts. So it's not like you have to go climb this mountain first. It's a mindset and a heart position. That's what it is.
Mm. That's beautiful, Marlise. That's really, really good. And I think I'm starting to hear some things that we need to address to get to the essence of this. So thank you for the vote of confidence on my opinion. However, we're not really here to um, have me so much inject my opinion. I appreciate the vote of confidence for that. But what I did hear you say that needs to be addressed is the congruency between the parent and the child. And then also you talked about the subjectivity and the emotionality of what parents and children are going through, and that it seems complicated, but yet it's actually simple. You have landed on the simplicity part. That's the part that you've discovered. And I do want to ask you to just like share your journey with me into that place of simplicity. But you also said it's about connecting and then supporting each other through it. Like, and there's a lot of emphasis on the word connection. And you talked about, just talking about that earlier today, I believe, how important it is to just be able to find and maintain that connection. And then you also use the word passion, being able to partner with your child in the place of their passion. What are they passionate about, right? And you use that example like the gold medalist. If they're just doing it just for the sake of the gold medal versus something that they're really passionate about, there's a disconnect there. And so yeah, even in parenting, just having that passion and finding your child's passion and finding the connections. And then when you said partner with your child, I really like that, because what I'm hearing is you're saying, and you even use the sports analogy, but it is kind of like sports where, you want to be on the same team with your children, and you want them, you want to be on the team and you want them to be on your team. You want them to see each other. That's what I'm hearing you say is how do you get on the same team and get them to see, I'm on your team. I'm not your
Yes.
enemy. I'm not on the other side, on the other team. I'm on your team. And you said, yeah, you just talked about the parents conveying to their sons and daughters, I know who you are. I know life is harder than it's ever been in the world, but let's do this together. Again, just getting on that same team and having the right mindset and the right heart about that. So that's kind of what I'm hearing so far. Is
Correct.
am I getting it right?
Yes.
Okay. What I would love to know is at this point, Marlise, just a little bit more about your journey in parenting and how you landed on this place. And I know everybody's journey is different. Like you said, it's so subjective. We're all different. Um, But because you are working with parents, some who are in a good place and just want to get better, but also some that are in a place of struggle. So maybe even focusing on one of those areas where you might have had a struggle and God met you and transformed things for you as a parent and for your family. Maybe just share a little bit of your story with me, if you would, please.
Right. All right. I'm not going to go into detail because this actually started when I was 12 and I'm 51. So
A
there's
few
no
years.
time. But anyway, just a few years. Anyway, so um when I was completely different to my brother and sister, and I was the youngest. So they went through their teenage years long before I did. And I honestly don't think my mom knew what to do with me because I was the exact opposite.
Mm,
And they knew I was a unique person, but they didn't know what to do with me. And to be honest, she didn't handle it very well at all. In fact, it made me her response to me made me incredibly rebellious, and
mm,
it fueled everything inside of me that should not have been there.
mm,
And so I had a very interesting journey through life. And then when um, I had a few relationships, serious relationships, and then eventually I got married, and I was brave enough to marry a man with 3 kids already, which I think if anything in this world's going to turn you upside down like nothing else can, it's probably that. So I inherited these 3 kids first, and their mother was also completely different to me.
mm,
So I came in again. I realized the other day I'm really a deep end swimmer because I've never entered a body of unknown, gracefully taking the steps in and just lying. I'm always thrown into the deep end, and I couldn't, yes, anyway. So that was very much part of my journey. So I always had to learn from a place of extreme discomfort and pain and fear and overwhelm.
mm,
And then when um, a number of miracles happened, and in that process, because we know how life works,
mm,
when you struggle, you really start to listen to God because it's the only thing.
mm,
So through this process, God taught me a lot, and I read books, I did courses, I tried to upskill myself because no one could give me the answers that I needed because no one in my family has ever been in that position. None
mm,
of my friends have ever been in that position. So I really had to go and get outside help and learn. And then I got my child who was complete miracle, and that's a long story, but
mm,
that really cemented a lot of things
mm,
in the spirit for me. And
mm,
then 2 years later, I got divorced and we were on our own again. And there was a whole new set of challenges waiting for us. And in that process, I really did my biggest learning. Um, um, got some more qualifications, learned a whole set of new things that I've never done before, just because I had to survive. So I mean, I got jobs that in my whole life never would have dreamed of.
mm,
I did courses to try and just better myself the whole time because there was no external help for me.
mm,
Yes, I could go to a therapist, whatever, but um, the only reason why I engaged with them is because I saw too, which I felt was necessary for my family's sake to make sure that I make the right decisions.
mm,
So I saw too, before I actually got the divorce, to make sure that I don't want to make such a rash decision, such a big decision based on my emotions.
mm,
I want to understand what the implications are, what the consequences are, how does this work, how does it work psychologically,
Mm,
what's it going to mean to my child, etc. So that's how I learned things. And then I took my son to play therapist, an occupational therapist, whatever, because I wanted to make sure that I learn everything I possibly can,
mm,
to make sure that he will never look back and say, how could you do that to us?
mm,
I needed to make sure that if that is the decision that I'm going to make, it's because it's going to improve our lives.
mm,
So that's where I took myself out of the equation and
mm,
said, God, you are in charge here,
mm,
and you've got to guide me because no one else can. Because I mean, I literally went to one therapist and I started talking and I told them how I thought, and he said to me, I don't actually know why you're here because you- there's nothing I can teach you. There's
mm,
nothing. And then also when my parents passed away so suddenly, and it had a big influence because I lost the son as well.
mm,
I took Daniel to the therapist, and after a few sessions, he called me in and he said, I'm not sure why your son is here because he seems to understand everything.
mm,
And that was such a wonderful testimony to God because yes, I'd learned all these things. Yes, I've upskilled myself, but now other people are saying to me, you know what, I actually see the results of this.
mm,
And so God told me, make sure you learn because I have a plan.
mm.
Because I was in advertising. That is what I'd been doing for 26 years.
Okay.
And God said, one day, oh, I hated my job, had a horrible boss. And I said to God, this cannot be my life. And he
Mm,
said, it's not. I have a plan for you.
mm,
And that's when he said to me, it's time. It's time.
okay.
And yes, by that stage, I had so many people that I could help at work, people that crossed my path in at church or wherever.
Mhm,
And the professionals out there said to me, there's nothing we can add to what you're doing. You're doing it.
mm,
And that really bears testimony to how God equips us for what we are called to.
mm, mm,
Yes. So,
mm,
mm.
mm,
I
mm.
don't know what else. I can carry on.
No, no,
There
no,
was a lot. Mm,
no, but there's a lot in what you shared, and it
mm,
helps to illuminate how you are where you are doing what you're doing and why it's
mm,
important and so passionate
mm.
to you. So that's really, really good. Um,
I learned firsthand. It's not theory. Mm.
mhm,
I
mhm,
know what it's like to sit in a dark corner and just bawl your eyes out because you have no idea how you're going to get through the next 10 minutes. I
mhm,
know how that feels. I know. And that's the thing. Every person that has approached me, and the last person that I spoke to, he's a father
mhm,
of between 10 and 16-year-old children.
mm,
And he actually contacted me because he said to me, I don't know what to do with these kids. I don't understand them at all.
mhm,
And even that, and that was so wonderful to me because I experienced what I did.
mhm,
I could give him, we worked together for a while, and every time with everything that he came, I could give him sound advice that he could go and implement immediately. And
mhm,
then I'd get the messages back of, I can't believe it, it's working. It's like, I said, yes, because why? Children, it doesn't matter where they are in the world, and it doesn't matter what their immediate circumstances are. They all need the same things.
mm,
God designed us in a certain way. So even though we are all wildly unique,
mhm,
there are certain things that are so important that it's in the Word of God because it's timeless.
Mhm. Yeah. Good, good. This is so good. You're getting right where we need to go. So, Mar,
Yay!
yeah, you really are. And it's interesting to me because at the beginning you were feeling like everything is so subjective, so
Mm,
individual
mm,
that it's going to be really hard to find a message that speaks to all the different
mm,
scenarios and situations,
mm,
people, and so forth. But yet, you yourself, right now, are speaking the message that's the common denominator, that thread that
mm,
runs through it all. And so I
mm,
don't know,
mm.
I want to say back to you what I'm hearing you say,
Okay.
which is
Yes.
beautiful. One thing that really stood out to me in everything that you just shared was, and these were your words, you said you took yourself out of the equation.
Mm, mm,
You took yourself out of the equation
mm,
in the sense that um, when you were going to those therapists, when you were looking for the classes, when you were going through that whole process of how is divorce going to impact my sons, my daughters, all of that was not, it wasn't about you per se and what you're going to get out of it, but your heart was fully in it for the well-being of your sons and daughters.
mm,
So in
mm,
essence, um the Bible verse that comes to my mind is, greater love has no man than this, that he would lay down his life for a friend. Well, how
mm,
much more so a parent for a
mm,
child? And so there
mm,
was this laid
mm,
down posture of your heart, right?
mm,
That you were only seeking the very best for your sons and daughters. And so you went through
mm,
everything that you had to go through. But I think that that is um, a key, maybe even the master
mm,
key to what it
mm,
is that you do for others, your service to others, and your offer. And I'm
mm,
not going to let you get off the hook on the fact that you are providing a service and it is for
mm,
pay, and it just is what it
mm,
is, and that's okay. There's
mm,
nothing wrong with
mm,
that. So I just
mm,
want to reiterate that here. But you also said, and this is the part I really like, is that, and this is what this to me defies all the differences. You said children all need the same
mm,
things. Yeah, you said children all need the same things, regardless of where they are in the world.
mm,
I think those were your exact words. And in the Word of God, there is the things that the Word of God says about that are timeless.
mm, mm,
So I think that's really helpful and insightful to
mm,
eliminate the sense of overwhelm about your message and really get down
mm,
to the essence of what your message is, what it is that you're carrying, and you've lived the message. You are the message and the
mm,
messenger at
mm,
once, because you went through that, for lack of a better word, that death
mm,
to self,
mm,
for in the midst of
mm,
turmoil in your family, right? In the midst of
mm,
what can
mm,
be one of the most devastating things that children can go through, which is
mm,
divorce,
mm,
and you laid everything down to find what was best for them. And so
mm,
now you're in a
mm,
position of being able to lead other people in that same process. Uh,
mm,
Even though the circumstances, everybody's circumstances may be very different,
mm,
but
mm,
it doesn't change the core
mm,
of, number one, removing yourself from the equation, so to
mm,
speak, right?
mm,
Which when I hear that, what I hear is that is because we know love looks like something.
mm,
And to me, that's
mm,
a demonstration of love. When you remove self, fear, pride, all those things could stand in the way and
mm,
cloud our thinking, cloud our decision making in how to move forward for the best for our sons and daughters, right? And can create a lot of turmoil in our homes and in our hearts and all those things like you've talked about. But then also understanding that what are those things? And I think that's what you deliver to people, is helping them be aware of what are those things that all children need, regardless of the differences in the circumstances and the situations and those things. I think that's where the essence is. So how does that sound to you? Like, give me some feedback on that.
I agree with that, but I totally agree with that. The problem is most parents don't know how to do that.
Well, that's you. That's what you're
Yes,
the one that solves that.
yes,
You're the
yes,
solution to that problem.
yes,
Yes,
yeah.
you,
And that's what I'm trying to convey. Yes, that
yeah.
I can help them with that, just because I've had to learn very different ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, what I want you to do is take a look. Let's see. So I think we're getting really close, believe it or not. I'm gonna share two slides with you. The first one, let me get my share screen. Okay. Oh, is that the one I want? Yes, that's the one I want. Okay. All right. So here, this is life message indicators. Okay. And this is not something I created, but it's by a gentleman named Tony Stoltzfus, who is a master coach. And let me see if I can make that bigger for you. And so these are some of the indicators of a person's life message. Okay. And soapbox issues is the first one, where you talk about the ideals and the issues that always come up in your heart. And so knowing you personally, I know that this is definitely your soapbox issue when it comes to the relationship between parents and children. And you've brilliantly shared with me today, but another indicator is places of power where you have unusual authority and impact. And I would love for you to just think about, and you've actually already touched on an example of how you've helped other parents break through, like the father that you shared about that has children and is amazed at how the things that you're sharing with him are actually working and helping him have a better relationship with his children. You talked about why you're qualified because of what you lived through, because of what you have gone through, and it's what makes people want to listen to you and hear what you have to say. And the last indicator that we talk about is where you are drawn to others and how they are drawn to you. And so yeah, I think that you have an eye for parents that are struggling, children that are struggling, and you're able to see how to bring that together. I think that's the gift, that's the service, that's the thing that you bring, and that's what you offer, right? So what we're trying to do here today, what we're going to do here today rather, is cull all of that down into a life message. And what I want you to keep in mind is a life message, because I sense that there's this tension, this struggle. It's like, but how can I put that all into one sentence or one phrase even, right? There's just so much and everybody's just so different, and it is so true. And yet and still it's like essential oils, right? They don't sell you the whole oregano tree. They just squeeze out all the oil and put it in a tiny little bottle, but when you open it up, that fragrance permeates everything that it comes near, right? And so that's
a great analogy. Yeah.
So think of your life message as we're not trying to It's not a one and done deal, or a, what is that word I'm looking for? One-stop shopping. It's not like
Yeah.
one size fits all. It's not that. It's definitely
Mm,
not that, but it is the
mm,
essence of, that's my analogy. It's not one size fits
mm,
all. And we know that,
mm,
but it is the essence of
mm,
your message. Okay. So I'm going to share my
mm,
example with you. For
mm,
me, my life message is two phrases.
mm,
You have a father, you belong. That's it.
mm, mm.
Now,
Yeah, amazing.
it's amazing. Now I can unpack that
Mm,
for days. There's so
mm,
much that I can say about that, right? But the you in this sentence refers to my audience, okay? Those
mm,
that have experienced fatherlessness in the natural, in the spiritual, emotionally, physically, all the different ways, right? So that's my audience, you. Um, and you have this, the essence of, this belongs to you. This is a gift. This has been given
mm,
to you, and it's a
mm,
free gift at that,
mm,
just
mm,
for the taking, right? And the
mm,
whole concept of what a father is, protection,
mm,
provider,
mm,
counselor, all of
mm,
that is wrapped up into this
mm,
one word,
mm,
you know. And then the second part of that, you belong, like that sense of belonging and being accepted and having a family. So I can, so when people ask me, you know, what is your purpose, or what is your message rather, I can say these two phrases, but then when I have the opportunity, I can really unpack that. So that's kind of, I just wanted to set that up as the, so that you don't feel like we're dismissing all that is your message.
mm.
It's just, again, when you're in the elevator and somebody says, Marlise, you know, what do you do? And you say, well, I'm a parent coach. Well, what's that all about? And then you're just able to, and then that creates the
Mm,
intrigue that wants,
mm,
that helps them get to want to know more about you and what you do. Okay.
mm,
So as you can see, my life message comes out of the abandonment of my father before
mm,
I was 2 years old, and experiencing abandonment in my life, throughout my life, especially by
mm,
father figures or male figures. And that
mm,
has led me to basically embodying the heart of the Father for other people, and being able to, yeah, convey that, impart that, relay that, share that message to them. So does that help kind of give you a an idea of where we're going to go with your message?
mm. Okay. Now, in terms of that, that's got nothing. How does that relate to the work that you do?
How does
That's
that
my,
work? Say that again. I didn't hear you very well.
sorry, my microphone has gone
Okay,
off.
that's okay.
How does that relate to the work that you do?
How does this? Oh, that's a great
Mm,
question. Thank you so
mm,
much. And that is the funniest part about it is, now this is my personal life message, right?
yes.
My business message is the flip side of this coin in a lot of ways. And the craziest thing, Marlise, I'm glad you asked that. This message comes out in everything that I do, whether I try to or not, whether I could be in a room talking to people and say nothing about God as Father at all. And
Mm,
somehow this comes through. And I don't have that part, I haven't figured out how he does that. But it's true, because I am one with this message. This message is my story. It's who I am.
mm,
Now, in
mm,
my business is transforming leaders into prospering influencers.
mm,
But the spiritual language for that is transforming orphans into sons, and transforming spiritual orphans into sons and daughters.
amazing. Amazing. Mm,
Transforming spiritual
mm,
orphans. Orphans are fatherless.
yes. Yes.
So it goes counter to you have a father.
Mm,
And so transforming leaders, but a lot of times leaders, until they've experienced a transformation, are broken people, and they're leading out of their brokenness because they have an orphan spirit. And it shows up in the way that they show up and lead their people.
Yes.
And so turning them into prospering influencers, not just thinking of prosperity in the financial sense, but prospering in a kingdom sense, prospering in terms of how you're leading others by being a servant first. And all the things that go, and I don't want to unpack my whole story here, but just to give you, just to answer your question. Yeah. So the sentence and the phrase, again, just creates the intrigue and the interest. Then the opportunities for you to speak from wherever or doing your virtual dinner parties, all these different places, one-on-one coaching, all those are opportunities where you're going to unpack what that actually means. Okay, so we're not losing anything by culling this down, but it's just your calling card, so to speak. It's just your way of letting people know what I'm about. Because a lot of times you won't have 30 minutes or an hour or two like we do right now. So I hope hopefully that's helpful.
Very, 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 very.
Okay, so now having said that, I always do this. I accidentally closed your notes. Let me get back to your notes and let's go back and just take a look at what you shared and see. To be honest with you, I'm already starting to see and feel your message. I'm really excited about it.
I'm so glad because you see, this is why this is so hugely powerful and invaluable.
There we go.
Because no one's ever spoken to me like this. And this is the nitty-gritty. And I wish someone told me this 2 years ago.
Well, that's the power of coaching. And, there's just so much that we could say. It's like, there's only so much you can do in your own head, but when you have somebody that's willing to sit and just listen and give you and we know from a faith perspective, faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God. And so hearing yourself speak is really a beautiful thing. Okay. So
can I just stop you there quickly? I've had a number of coaches. No one's ever told me this.
Oh,
it's not the power of coaching, it's the power of a powerful coach. Yes.
It's all about
one who really understands.
And listening, just the willingness to listen and giving you the space I think that's what we do as coaches, is just create a space more than anything else, right? Is just create space to be heard. And that's a beautiful thing. So having heard you today, and I really have enjoyed this immensely, Marelise, the things I will just share with you, the things that really have stood out to me, and that I want us to just begin to cull this down, like I said, into a sentence or two that really resonates with you. And you may not, we may or may not get that perfect sentence today. Sometimes it'll come out perfectly. Sometimes you'll want to wordsmith it a little bit. Okay, that's okay. So it doesn't have to come out perfect, but if it does, that would be nice. I like it when that happens, but you can wordsmith it and sleep on it and think about it, but let me just ask you first, what has really popped out at you today? What has stood out to you today from everything that you've shared? In terms of your message specifically,
yes. Because of the nature of what I do, because of where I came from, and honestly, I can keep you busy for days with all my stories. It's so much, and there's so much happening in the world, and there are so many things that parents are dealing with. It's just, it's like a million messages a minute rushing through my head. And it's like, taking a fly swatter and just hitting into the air. Yes, at one point you're gonna hit something at some point, but that's not helpful for me. And today you completely shifted my perspective. We came from a totally different angle, and we're getting to something now that could actually contain all of that in one sentence. Miraculous. Yes.
Okay, so
Mm,
let's go
mm.
for it here.
Okay.
I'm going to share with you what really popped out at me, what
Mm,
really
mm,
stood out to me, and I'm kind of being a little bit repetitive here on purpose. Okay, and
okay.
I want you to
Mm,
also inject here what more needs to be added or taken away,
mm,
and we're going
mm,
to really begin to craft this sentence. So the thing that really stood out to me is
mm,
um your awareness of the times that we're living in and
mm,
the added challenge that that brings. That's one thing. Okay. Um, so therefore parents are facing added challenges. It's not just the challenge of raising kids, but now
mm,
it's doing it
mm,
at the end of the age, if I can just go ahead
mm,
and say what it is.
yes,
Okay, which is a
yes.
whole nother level.
Mm, mm,
And
mm,
my heart goes out to parents that are trying to do this thing now. It was hard enough when I was raising mine, and I can't even,
mm, mm,
my heart goes out to them.
mm,
What the other thing that really, really stood out to me is you took yourself out of the equation. And I
mm,
think there's something to be said for what Jesus said: deny yourself, take up your cross, deny yourself, and follow
mm,
me, is what I hear in that.
mm,
Right? And eliminating, what that means is eliminating fear, eliminating ego, eliminating pride, and really walking in love.
mm,
Right? And that's what I've picked up from you, is that that's where you want to help parents come to. Not that they don't already want that, but
mm,
you're that bridge that can help them
mm,
cross over into how to
mm,
do that, especially if they weren't parented like you said. You told your
mm,
story about
mm,
you didn't get all those things from your mom and how that
mm,
led you into a place of rebellion and all those
mm,
things. But now, because of your journey, you have this whole other level of understanding, and so you
mm,
know what the bridge is. You know how to help people get from their point
mm,
A, where they're stuck, to their point B, where they can find
mm,
that release and that
mm,
freedom for them and their kids. Um,
mm,
and the other thing that
mm,
really stood out to me that I think is core to your message is the truth that at the end of the day, children all need the same things.
mm,
And
mm,
for you, as a person who is walking in faith with Jesus, for you, those things are found in the Word of God, and you've discovered and uncovered those things and can
mm,
use those principles, those
mm,
timeless, true principles to help
mm,
people cross
mm,
over to that place
mm,
of well-being with their sons and daughters. So
mm.
that's kind of what I've picked up. What else would you want to, is there anything you want to take out or disagree with, or anything you want to add to that message?
Um, in because my head is where I want to go,
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, because my head is a little inundated with messages.
Mm-hmm.
For me, from what you just said, is because I'm thinking love covers all.
Yes, I love it.
God's love covers all.
Yes.
So the two things is bridging the gap, because to make that connection is essential. No
Mm,
one's going to follow you without a connection. And
mm,
what I mean by that is your kids are not going to follow you if you don't have that connection with them.
mm,
And then love covers all. So the thing is,
mm,
it's conveying that message of it doesn't matter what you don't understand. It doesn't matter what you don't know. It doesn't matter what you feel is staring you in the face and you just can't deal with it. Love covers all.
Mm,
And I think if that intention is there, it's it's easier to find the solution, it's easier to implement the solution. And of course, like anything, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So
mm,
yes, I honestly don't think that what I am pointing them to, it's really, really simple but very effective solutions. And what I've discovered is it was all a big aha for them.
mhm,
Every single thing.
mhm,
But it's simple to me because
mhm.
I learned it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I had to learn it the hard way.
yeah,
They don't have to learn it the hard way.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can just tell them.
yeah, yeah.
So I feel like it's actually it's not adding to everything you need to deal with every day. It's actually making that less. It's
Mhm,
reducing the stresses. It's reducing the processes
mhm,
because you can just say this and this and this done.
mhm. I wish I had known you 25 years ago.
I wish I had known me 25 years ago.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
didn't know myself yet, you see?
I know. We had to
Yeah.
go through. So, how does this sound to you? Again, you can take it and wordsmith it
Yes.
later, right? And I am going to give you a bonus here. I'm going to send you a sheet that you can work on to confirm your life message.
Thank you.
Can
Mm,
run this past a few people and I'll share that with you. But what I'm hearing is love covers all, bridging the gap and creating the connection.
mm, mm, mm,
Or you can just say bridge the gap, create the connection
mm,
to make it even more tight and succinct,
mm,
right? There are lots of different ways. And like I said, you can wordsmith it and play around with it, but
mm,
love covers all. Bridge the
mm,
gap, create the connection.
mm, mm.
So if
Yes.
I met you and I knew nothing about what you do, and I asked you, so Marlise, what do you do?
Mm.
I'm a parenting coach and I help parents discover what it means,
Bridge the gap.
yeah,
Mm,
how to bridge the
mm,
gap and create the
mm,
connection with their families, with their children.
mm, mm, mm,
And then when you get into that, you
mm,
know, Zoom
mm.
room and you've got 30 parents in there with you, then you break that all down over the course of,
Okay.
a 3-day challenge or
Yes.
a 5-day
Mm,
workshop or
mm,
whatever.
mm, mm.
Does
Yes.
that resonate with you?
That helps so much. I cannot even begin to tell you. Just to get it down to this is the essence. It doesn't matter what it means to them. It gives me the opportunity to open that door and say, let me tell you. Yes.
Yes,
See,
exactly.
we're so worried about saying exactly that thing that is going to resonate with them, but it's impossible. I've
It's
tried.
important, right? And
Um,
before we
mm,
do, before you get this succinct language, like we can lose people because we know what's in our heart and we're super passionate about it, right? And we want
mm,
to unpack the whole thing and tell them all the stories, but time, doesn't allow for that.
mm,
And we've got to
mm,
be able to bring it to them in this compact way
mm,
first, and then that'll get them
mm,
to want to know more and listen to more. And hopefully you can use this in some of your publicity and advertising and all the other things as well. So
yes, yeah.
very good.
Can I just ask you something? In
Yeah,
America, do you also have like the tube in London? Do you also use the underground? Um,
I didn't hear it.
in America, do you also use the underground as much as in the UK.
Oh, you mean like the subway?
Public, yes, yes, yes.
Oh, in
You,
some places, yes. Miami,
mm,
no. Where I
mm,
live, no,
mm,
not at
mm,
all. But
mm,
then we're sea
mm,
level. So that probably
yes.
wouldn't be a good idea because we'd be like in subways or something, right?
Mm,
Like in
mm,
submarines. We'd have
mm,
to go
mm,
in boats
mm, mm.
under the water. But
Yeah.
no, like, yes, there are lots of cities that do have subway. My son lives
Mm,
in Brooklyn in New York, so definitely
mm,
he uses the
mm,
subway. And I know
mm.
there are other cities as well. Washington,
So I
D.C.
want to know,
Hmm.
yes. So do they also have those lights flashing by the doors that says mind the gap?
Oh, I haven't seen that. No.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
Tell me about it.
No, because in the UK, as the doors open or before the doors close,
Uh-huh.
there's an audible voice. Now, this was years ago when I was there. There's an audible voice that says, mind the gap. And there's even this little illuminated sign that says, mind the gap. And everybody there knows what
What
mind
that
the
means.
gap means. And this is, you see, this would immediately be a way for me because you do feel sometimes like you're on this high speed train and it's like the moment those doors close, like, whoa, where are we going? And it feels like that sometimes. So just to say, mind the gap, it's
Marlise,
fine.
that's
Yeah.
brilliant. I love it. And you have the
Yeah, except that
visual.
it's not relevant in America.
No, I don't, I've never seen that, but that is brilliant. I love that. And I think that is your message right there. Mind the gap. Create the connection, mind the gap.
Mm,
Love
mm,
covers all. Mind the gap, create the
mm,
connection. Oh my
mm,
good. And even when you're on a train, you're connecting trains. Oh
mm,
my goodness,
mm.
girl, you just came up with something hot right there.
But you see, the thing is, you're on a track. You're on a predestined track. And that's God's truth. That's His word. That's His promise. That's His calling. That's His purpose. So you're on that thing. And, so it's just, it's also instilling that trust that you're going to get there.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it. It's all
yeah,
been set out.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
smile and wave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I could so what I'm seeing is you creating a little video,
Mm,
even your welcome
mm,
video, and you could
mm,
have like just a visual
mm,
of, like
mm,
where you show that sign, mind the gap, and then the
mm,
train, and then
mm,
the doors close, and how they're on the
mm,
track, and all of that.
mm,
Like you could turn that into
mm,
a whole, oh my goodness,
mm.
that's so good. I love it.
So,
Well, let me,
okay.
just for the sake of your time, because I know it's
Mm,
late there in
mm,
South Africa, um,
mm.
what has been the highlight of this time together for you today, Marlise?
I cannot thank you enough because you managed to distill so much into something that I believe will make sense to everybody, which is the greatest gift you could possibly give anybody.
You did it. I
Because,
just asked the question.
yeah, but our minds are, you know, we're trying so hard to do so many things every day. I
Mm,
mean, it's just so overwhelming, and you've got the pressures of life and everything else that's going. And to just sit down and say, just tell me what you hear, just tell me what you see, just tell me
mhm,
something because I actually need someone else to just, just, just um distill something from this that
mm,
could make sense.
mhm,
And
mhm,
that's exactly what you've done. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm
mm.
so grateful for that. It
Yeah,
is the greatest gift you can give to any person who is just wanting to take the next step.
good, good.
Yeah.
Well, I hope
Mm,
this will help you take the next step in your
mm,
business tree. And I love what you do. It's so needed and such a blessing. It's going to be a blessing to many. So, without further ado, I am going to send you the video because that way you can go back and hear yourself. And I think that's
mm,
really powerful. If you want to take some more notes on what you shared today. And then I'm also going to send you a worksheet that you can use to confirm this message and just make, and again, feel free to add or subtract or reword or whatever, but I think we were able to get to the essence of it.
Yes, we were.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I am
Thank
going to
you.
stop our recording. Give me just a second here to find the button.